All right, hi everyone. How you doing? Luke Thomas here from Morning Kombat. Thumbs up on the video, hit subscribe. We have another interview for you this week, fresh off of his UFC Fight Island 5 win over Marlon Moraes. Is top bantamweight contender, Aurora, Colorado's finest. It is Cory Sandhagen. Hi, Cory. How are you?
I'm good, Luke. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Well, I got to say, congratulations. That had to go pretty well. You know, I did a dissected on you. I think it's coming out as we speak, which is here on a Tuesday evening or so, afternoon. And I had to tell you, I had to go through a bunch of your other fights to sort of see, try to figure out what was going on. Boy, you know, it's kind of interesting. This might be one of your easier fights. Do you feel that way?
I didn't
Not
think
on
it was
paper, but like in actuality.
Oh yeah, in actuality, I felt really in control the whole time. Yeah, I would say probably more in control than I have in previous fights. Sure.
All right, so let's talk through what you thought was going to happen, what you were anticipating. What were you expecting out of Marlon? And then relative to that, what did you get?
Yes. I didn't know if he was going to come out really hard in the beginning or if he was going to pace himself really for like more of a 5-round fight. That was kind of question number one. Question number two was, is he going to stay standing with me, or is he going to try to take me down? So question one was kind of answered kind of right away. He didn't really rush too hard. He didn't really seem to like empty his gas tank at any point to where he couldn't go anymore, which I was like, okay, he might be doing that, because he didn't want to go 5 rounds. And then question number two was, is he going to try to shoot in on me? And there was one exchange that we had striking where I overthrew on my right hand, and he was in a perfect position where if his game plan and his mind was set on taking me down, he would have done so in that moment. So I kind of saw that wasn't really the case, although he did kind of shoot at the end of the round, but it was kind of off of a caught kick. I don't think he really wanted it that bad.
So, fair to say, once you realized it did not seem to be something he truly wanted, did you open up even more?
Yeah. I mean, the first round I knew I had to be on. I had to be on. I knew that I had to be on the entire fight, but especially the first round. So after I went to my corner, I went back to my corner. I said, this guy's already breathing hard. Like, he's already breathing hard. I'm going to put it on him now. So I rushed out of the corner in the second round, and I was like, okay, now I'm going to pick up the pace in this round, because I didn't feel like I was pushing him enough, because I was planning on 5 rounds, and he seemed like he was getting tired. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do the exact same thing because he's already almost getting really fatigued, and I can push it harder if I need to. And so that's kind of where my head was at going into the second round.
Relative to what you had planned, what worked really well?
Making him swing really big, which I know my coaches weren't crazy about me staying in the pocket for a couple of those exchanges, but I think that it paid off because I protected myself in the pocket, and guys like that, man, they can't help but throw with all of the power that they have. Like, they cannot help it. And I kind of knew that too. So while I was in the pocket, although he was throwing like really big punches, all of them were kind of like glancing off my shoulders or on my gloves or a little bit on my arms or something. And I realized that I had a big advantage there too, because he there's no way that he would be able to throw with that much power the entire fight. So I was like, I'm just going to chill in this range and get out of the way of as many as I can. But if he's going to throw with all of this power this early, then I'm just going to stay here and let him punch himself out.
You know, it's kind of interesting in watching some of your other fights. It's not to say that you don't do things specific for an opponent, because I think that you do, and especially like certain opponents where a lot of the fight was on the ground, for example, and you had a particular plan for that, but this one was not necessarily that one. But what I mean to say is, but yet still, you just kind of have also, I think maybe you disagree, but from my perspective, what I sort of noticed was, yes, there were individual things for this fight, but there's also just sort of a set of things that you do that seem so applicable across the board. You tweak it, it gets a little bit more refined each time, but it's not a huge change fight over fight. Would you say that's a fair characterization?
Yeah, I think that's fair. most of my game is just figuring out where their openings are. Like, it's just, like touch them a little bit, feint at them a bunch, and then openings they'll always offer themselves. It's just a matter of like being able to be in a position where I can capitalize on that opening. So for me, it's just a lot of like prodding, trying to find that opening, and then staying in a position where when that opening does present itself, I can hop on it right away.
Okay, I want to talk more about this fight, and then I want to talk some about your theories of fighting. Walk me through the end. You know what I noticed about him? And I don't know if you picked up on it in a concerted way or you just reacted to it based on some of the things that you were witnessing in the moment. What I mean to say is, one thing I picked up on was Moraes resets a lot, constantly, brings his feet together and bounces up and down. Did you know that both times you threw the spinning or the turning back kick, whatever variety it was off of him bringing his feet together and stopping? I don't know if that was a conscious choice on your part or not, but you definitely did it.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. No, I didn't notice that. I'm trying to think what I noticed about Moraes' movement. I noticed a lot of his motions were really big, and I thought he was going to be much faster than he was. Not that he wasn't fast, but he was very telegraphed. Like, I didn't think after watching his last fights that he would be as telegraphed as he was when he was right in front of me. So I did definitely notice that, where I was like, all right, these shots, there shouldn't be a reason that I get hit too clean with any of these. Like, even if they're coming hard, like, I should at least be able to get my eyes on them so that they don't knock me out. I remember being confident in that when he was telegraphing them pretty hard.
And then the one thing I'll say for him that did work pretty well, a few of those left hooks got through. You were kind of like red-faced on the right side there for a time. What was up with that?
Yeah, I think he hit me with like one real clean left hook, and then a couple right hands. But usually on right hands, when they score them against me, I get my shoulder way high and I crunch, so that usually they just go right behind my ear. And hit that area, which doesn't really show any marks. But he hit me with one good left hand, and then I remember I think that mark on my face is probably from his spinning back fist. Threw a spinning back fist that I had my guard up for, but it came at an angle that it went on the inside of my guard. So yeah, that one hit me pretty good on the cheek.
So after the fight, when they were announcing you as the winner, you did this sort of like Broadway thing where all the actors at the end of a play all raised their hands together. You were doing it with your coaches. What was that about?
They hated it. It was corny, man, but I wanted them. I just thought it might be cool because I mean, they're just as much of the winning process as I am. I'm just the robot that goes and does it, but they're like the ones that are typing in all the programming all for the couple months ahead of time to help me get there. So I wanted to involve them in that hand raising thing, but it kind of came off pretty corny, and I don't think they liked it that much. So that'll probably be the last time that we do that. But I wanted to try it and see if it was cool or not.
What was their grade for you after the fight? They had to be pretty. They seemed pretty pumped.
Oh yeah, we were all pumped. Yeah, they were like, they told me that was much different. So Carrington Banks has been in my corner for the last 2 fights as my wrestling coach. And he was like, man, your energy for this one was not the same as your energy for the last one. And I was like, I know. I was just in a different energy space for that fight, man. Like, I was ready to eat his brains. Like, I was ready to drink his blood and eat his brains. Like, I was in just a different headspace of going into that fight, and my energy was all in the right directions. I didn't feel distracted by anything. It was just, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna kill this guy, and that's what I was thinking.
Why did you? Why do you think you didn't have that for the Sterling fight?
I didn't really. I think I was just a little overconfident looking back, probably. I think that like like this is fighting is very uncivilized, and it's like it's not really a normal thing. It shouldn't feel normal. And when I went into the Sterling fight, it felt really like normal. And like just getting myself out of that, I thought that it felt so normal because I had like been around the block for a little bit now in the UFC. It was like my 6th fight in the UFC and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, maybe like nerves just go away, and it's like, Nah, man, like I want to be able to like elicit those nerves and point them in the right direction, not make them go away, because they can be very powerful energy.
By the way, I think you said during the post-fight show for your win that you had a blurry vision in that eye a little bit, the one that got marked up. Is it better today?
Yeah, it's way better. So it was better after the media stuff. It went away about an hour afterwards. I know that they gave me some medical suspension that seems kind of crazy long, like 180 days or something, but that's not a thing that will stay. As long as I'll probably just get, I think I have an appointment on Monday. I'm just going to go get it cleared and then have that be it.
And so is there a meaningful difference between fighting at the Apex and then fighting on Fight Island? Sorry, let me ask it this way. In terms of what it does for you.
In what way? In the way of like just...
Some people they almost like the quarantine. Not that it is like a thing that they would write for themselves in a perfect world, but it kind of, I don't know, it makes them hungry and eager. And then maybe for the Apex, some like it because it's convenient. Like everyone's a little bit different, and I'm wondering, did it put you in a different space competitively?
No, man, I really think that the only thing that I attribute to this headspace versus last headspace is myself. Like I just didn't know that I needed to be more intense. Like I thought I could do good, not as intense. It was like completely, that's it. Like I don't think it was not having a crowd, the smaller cage. It wasn't anything other than me just being like, oh, I don't really need to pump myself up that much. Like I got this, you know what I mean? And like, that's bullshit. Like that's not true. Like these are the best guys in the world. You need to go in and be ready for whatever's going to happen in there. And I don't think that quarantine has anything to do with it. I think that the 1 or 2 hours before the fight are, if I can channel my energy, get my head right in those couple of hours, I think I'll be good, And obviously it's not just going to be like a light switch thing. Like that entire trip when I was out on Fight Island, I was really dialed in. Like I remember the entire time I was like, just if I felt like I was having almost even like a little bit too much fun or distracting myself too much or watching too much TV or whatever, I would just remind myself that I'm here for a purpose, that if this guy wanted to fight right now in the lobby, we would go fight right now in the lobby. If they called me and were like, hey, we moved the card to 5 minutes from now, you're going to fight in 5 minutes, I would say, okay. Like I tried to be sharp in my head the entire time.
All right, so a couple of things here. One was I was watching some of your older fights in preparation for the video, and remember Dominic Cruz was asked, I forget who asked it, but he was asked, do you feel like Cory style's like yours? And he's like, not really, but he paid a compliment. He was like, you can tell that this guy is well-schooled, well-trained, and he understands the fight game. And the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, I don't like the Cruz comparison either, but let me tell you what I did see. And again, I don't know, I think this is a little bit rough around the edges too, but I'm just trying to pinpoint what I think is closest. Israel Adesanya gave you some props recently, saying he really liked your footwork and your movement, but his style is different too. However, if you took some of what Adesanya does with the feinting, angle change, a lot of the things where you freeze an opponent, because I thought you did a lot of, I don't know if you know this, that was the second lowest output for a round Marlon's ever had that didn't go to a stoppage for round one. So he just didn't do a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Number one. Number two, it's if I combined that with John Jones in fast forward. A lot of, I throw a strike here, I throw a strike there. I switch stance off a leg kick, I come the other way. I know that's heady praise because it's two titans of the game, but I feel like there's something to be said for that single shot high variance matched with some of the feinting and the freezing. No?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think I have a really good understanding of, the sport of MMA. I know I don't come off like the typical machismo type dude, but as far as thinking from a very rational and logistical spot, I think that I have it pretty figured out. Not all the way figured out, of course, but with striking in general, do you kind of want me to go over a few of the things that I like to keep on the forefront of my head?
Yes, I think from a philosophy standpoint, I'd love to know what you think, because it appears to be there's two kinds of strikers, and it's not to say that one is always better than the other, But there's one kind of striker in modern MMA that very much values distance, feinting, angle change, and only really throwing when it benefits them, not these exchanges. And then you have these other types, and God bless them, like a Vicente Luque. He's very, very, very good, and he does feinting too, but it's a lot more of a blood and guts kind of style. And I'm like, how is it possible that there could be, like, one group has this sort of enlightened style, and then the other one doesn't? And I guess I'm trying to figure that out.
Sure. So for me, number one is keep myself safe. I've always admired the defensive fighters more than I've admired the guys that can do a bunch of offensive output, you know. My favorite guys growing up were like Pernell Whitaker, Floyd Mayweather, Nonito Donaire, like really good footwork guys that had like really good defensive skills. So for me, it's one, keep yourself safe, and then two, why put yourself in a position where you're ever going to feel like you're rolling the dice? So I'm not going to throw a strike if I feel like I'm rolling the dice. I'm going to throw a strike when I know that you can't hit me as clean as I can hit you, you know? And is that always a circumstance? Of course not. But I don't like the idea of me and this guy are standing on the same set of train tracks and I'm just going to throw something. Like, that's not what I'm going to do. Like, unless it's just something to score points or to draw out a reaction. Or just kick the leg at the calf because I can be really far away afterwards too. But I'm never going to do that. You know, like everything for me is going to come off of an advantage. Like if I can get you to do something with your hands, then I'll attack. If I can get you to swing big, obviously I'll attack. But if I can get to any level of advantage, that's when my time is to attack. It's not when we're both ready, you know. So if I feel like this person has their finger right on the trigger, I'll just move around a little bit more, feint at them a little bit more, and then watch them get a little bit lazy. And then when there's an opening, then I'll go ahead and attack on that opening.
How many coaches at a high level know how to teach a fighter that?
I don't know.
Because here's the thing: it's not like if you go to jiu-jitsu, any school is going to know how to do an armbar, triangle, guard, various guard passes, taking the back. You can get it pretty much. You can just fly somewhere on vacation around the world and get that. I don't think you can do that with striking.
I don't think you can. I think that I think striking, because it happens much, much quicker than jiu-jitsu happens, I think it has to be very conceptualized, and it can't be extremely step one, step two, step three, step four, you know, how jiu-jitsu kind of is, you know, with finishing techniques. I think in striking it's, okay, where am I safe? All right, here's where I'm safe. Okay, how do I recreate a scenario where I'm safe? Okay, I can recreate this scenario where I feel like I'm safe. And then adding on to that, it's like, okay, I'm recreating the scenario where I'm safe, and now I'm keeping myself in a good position. And it's like, okay, now that I can do all of those things, now it's time for me to work on my offensive attacks. And I think I remember when I first started kickboxing, I didn't attack offensively ever. It was all off of counters. And I asked my coach, Christian Allen, who is one of the most artistic and genius striking coaches in the game, who I've been with since day one. I was like, man, is that like bad? And he was like, well, are you winning? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, you'll figure out how to attack after you get comfortable. You know, everything has to kind of come with like a lot of level of like, I feel comfortable doing this and I feel safe doing this, so now I can build onto it.
Interesting. By the way, in terms of Adesanya's praise, that had to feel pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, I know Israel a little bit from when he came out and had his glory fight. He was here for a couple of weeks training at Muscle Farm with all of us. But yeah, he's a really genuine guy, and you can tell too, like that guy has a really smart mind. Clearly, I mean, obviously that's easy to say now because he's a champ, but you could tell before, like that guy doesn't roll the dice. You know what I mean? Like every shot he throws, there's confidence in it because he's in a position where he can do that.
All right, let's talk about what might be next. And this is another thing I guess I should have put two and two together, and I didn't, but I'm glad I went back and reviewed some of those fights, because during the commentary, it was noted that you, for a time, early in your career, I believe, and I don't know the timeline, so maybe you can help me out, that you did for a time spar with TJ Dillashaw, and then eventually you guys were separated. So how long did you guys spar in terms of months or weeks or something? And I guess you got separated because you realized at some point we might meet down the road?
No, that wasn't why we separated. It was so I used to train with Dwayne Ludwig also. He's a Colorado guy, so I used to do some training with him a while ago, and here and there, and then he asked me to go out to when he moved to California to coach at Alpha Male. He just asked me to go out and spar with TJ for when he was going to fight Barao. So I was out there whenever that was. I think I was in college during that time. It was a few years ago. It was quite some time ago. But yeah, so I went out during that time, and then I think I went out maybe once or twice after that, and then that's when TJ and Dwayne moved back to Colorado and started training at Muscle Farm. And then, of course, I was out here. And then, yeah, we were training partners for however long that lasted, maybe like 2-3 years. And then I think that Muscle Farm group split up, and he went to California maybe 4 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we probably trained together for like maybe 2 years, 3 years, and then about 4 years ago is when he moved back to California.
All right, so you had mentioned in the post-fight either interview or somewhere afterwards, I forget where I saw it, that there was a series of names you'd be okay with. One, if you get a title shot after Sterling, or depending who wins a Sterling Yan fight, that would be okay. I think you mentioned Edgar and you mentioned TJ. Let's start with TJ. Why is that a fight that it would interest you?
He was one of the best. Like, he was considered one of the best 135ers in the world, and I know when he comes back, he's still extremely popular too, and like in a sport where like popularity counts, I want to take that from him, like he's known as one of the best bantamweights to ever live, and I want to take that juice from him. And I want to take it at a time where I don't want the UFC giving him a title shot off of his suspension. Like, I think that would be a pretty lame thing to do, and the timeline kind of lines up. I would be looking to fight in January and February, and that's when he's back, and he's the biggest name that I can think of right now that would definitely be in the talks for a title when he does come back. So why not just, I want to eliminate that argument that he has just right off the bat. I want to eliminate everyone's argument right now so that I'm the only one left.
All right, then there's Edgar. Now, I sort of get it, right? He's got the same name, former champion. He did look, I thought, good in his last fight. I don't know, man. I feel like you're in somewhat different positions in the pecking order there.
Yeah, I agree with you, and so did my coaches after I said that. But they were like, "Why'd you say Frankie?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I don't want to wait until." My thinking behind that was, okay, so what if TJ doesn't fight me, or what if he just doesn't? I don't know what TJ's doing. I haven't talked to him in a really long time. So say Yan and Sterling fight in December, and then they want to wait 6 months to fight again. Like, I don't really have an interest in waiting another 8 or 9 months to fight. I don't like doing that. I know it's like a smart thing to do sometimes, but I would really strongly prefer to not do that. So if it means like getting another one in before that happens, I would be very open to that idea. But also, of course, I'm not the only one that's making all of the decisions, right? Like, I kind of put that in the coach's hands too, and kind of just trust that they'll make the good decision for me. But yeah, I think that TJ is definitely the better answer.
So with TJ, if you actually like talk to the Dutch, they'll fight teammates. I wish I realized you're not, but I'm just saying they'll fight teammates like no problem. They just sort of see it as business. It's not a huge deal per se, at least not the same it is to Americans. What is the status of any kind of, not relationship per se, but is there any weirdness about it? Is there any kind of, I don't know how would you explain, like, we used to train together and now we don't?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's any weirdness on my end. There's no ill will towards TJ. I'll give TJ all the credit in the world, he was a really tough training partner. Like, he had his days where he would go probably a little bit too hard for, what would seem being a good training partner. I don't really mind that stuff. It was just okay, whatever, TJ's going to train hard. Don't train with him unless you feel like training hard also. I have zero ill will towards the guy. I'll give him credit for when he would use me as a sparring partner to get ready for a lot of his fights. He would pay me, and it was during a time in my life where I needed I needed some money, and he was kind enough to do that. And so I give him credit for being a nice guy to me. At the same time, I don't feel bad about calling him out. It's not like our friendship was so tight that I'm gonna offer up a dream of mine in order to maintain the relationship. Like that's what we're doing here is we're all trying to accomplish one goal, and I have no problem, hitting him or fighting him or whatever, so that's kind of where we stand, like there's no ill will, but it's also like I don't feel bad, like I don't have any feelings towards like TJ and fighting him. Like it would just be like another fight to me.
As we move on towards the end of this interview here, and appreciate your time, let me ask you about why you think the UFC has not announced Yan versus Aljo. You find that a little weird?
I think it's weird, and that's another reason that I kind of brought up TJ's name too, is because who knows, like maybe they don't think that card is going to sell enough, and maybe they want Yan to fight TJ when TJ gets back. Like, I don't really know what's going on with that. I honestly don't. I think obviously they were probably waiting to see what happened in me and Marlon's fight, and maybe they wanted to give it to Marlon, obviously. But yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe they're working. Maybe it's as simple as they're working on a date too. But yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Who do you like in that fight?
I don't know, like I would have said Yan before I fought Sterling.
Sterling's tough, man. He's a tough dude.
Sterling's really tough. You know what I'll say about Sterling too is he definitely brings a certain type of energy that is a little bit hard to describe unless you're standing in front of him in the cage, so that was something that caught me off guard a little bit, and I think it's perfect for me to have learned from that. Like, you have to be ready to match the level of intensity as your opponent, and he definitely brings a lot of intensity into the cage with him, and I think that's a really huge X factor for him that you can't really tell from a technical aspect that's occurring, but there's definitely an energy to him that makes him better. So I don't know, man. That would be, I don't know.
All right, well, we'll see what happens next. I don't know if that's going to be a fight or what the hell's going to happen, but I got to tell you, man, that was a hell of a performance, a hell of a win. You got to be pleased. You went over there, you did business, you came back, COVID-free the whole time. Do you have any plans to enjoy yourself? Are you going to do anything fun?
Yeah, I'm hitting Steamboat Springs tomorrow just for a couple nights, but yeah, that's about it. I don't really, I've been gone for 2 weeks, so I don't really want to do anything except for kind of sit on my couch and hang out. So that's what I'll be doing.
Last thing on this, I've been to Aurora, Colorado, and let me say something. It's a very nice place. I mean this absolutely sincerely. Yeah. The beer there is tremendous. Colorado generally is just an absolutely spectacular state to just look at and be around. The air is clean. If you're into marijuana, the whole state will take care of you. I've never seen more white dudes with dreadlocks in my life than in Aurora, Colorado. How did a guy like you come out of there?
That's how the white guys roll down there. It's a very mixed crowd in Aurora. Yeah, man, it's an interesting place. It's like a melting pot of, on one side of the street you can have upper middle class, and then right on the other side of the street you can have pretty lower middle class, and then it's so I'm grateful for it, man. I had a lot of different types of friends. I knew a lot of different types of people growing up, and I definitely had a different experience as far as like being introduced to a lot of different cultures growing up in this area.
All right, super last question, I promise. Appreciate your time. Are you going to watch the Lomachenko fight this weekend?
Oh, of course, man.
What do you think, Lomachenko or Lopez? Who do you got?
No, I think Lomachenko. I was watching someone. I hadn't watched a ton of Lopez, and then
he's good.
My buddy, yeah. Well, that's what my buddy said too, and I was like, man, Lomachenko's too. I can't even see that guy getting in a fight. And then I watched some of Lopez, and I was like, he's definitely very good, but I don't think, I think that still Lomachenko's advantages are going to completely blow that guy out of the water.
All right, well, enjoy yourself.
What do
Enjoy
you think?
Everybody I talk to who knows more than me all says Lomachenko should win. And I think that's probably the smart money. I don't know, dude. Lopez is big for that weight. He's got big power. He's athletic. You can tell he's smart as shit too in terms of his decision making. Mm-hmm. I tend to think this. Gun to my head, I'll go Loma. But I think the people who are like, the inevitability of Loma, I think they're overstating that a little bit. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah. Who is the guy that Lomachenko fought right before Rigondeaux?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
I think he was a Mexican, maybe a Mexican fighter. I forget who it was, but I didn't think that guy was good. Remember he was the guy that knocked Lomachenko down for the first time?
Was it before or after? Because he went up to 135. It was Pedraza and Linares he fought after Rigondeaux, and those guys gave him some trouble. Yeah,
I think it's Linares. I think Linares dropped him in that fight, and that really surprised me. And I could see. I think Lopez is probably a little bit better than Linares, so I guess we'll see.
It should be fun. Well, look, congratulations. I appreciate you making so much time for us. Enjoy the rest of your time until you have your next fight, and can't wait to see what you have in store for us.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Luke. I appreciate you having me on, man. I like talking to you.
Likewise. Take care.
TV taught me how to dream. It was a life jacket. I don't think you can be an artist and not touch people.